the global central banks, they pumped almost $10 trillion in saving the banks, or let us say, saving the world. And that price is gigantic, because it's the cost of World War II, the first Gulf War, to put a man on the moon, to clean up the major disaster after the Japanese tsunami, and the African aid budget for the last 20 years altogether. So that was the cost of the financial crisis.
The 11th International CIFA Forum in Monaco opened closing day with back-to-back discussions on a range of financial processes, from EU intermediation and the impact that the EU regulatory process has had on investment products and services distribution, to delivering insight into the future of banking.
You have simultaneously Europe inflicting austerity on itself, but praying that the United States would do the opposite. And now we're headed in their direction. If you look at Europe, this is no longer the second recession. It's obscene, in fact.
The socialists and the Greens are producing amendments which are only politically motivated because they want more control. The right-wing MEPs producing amendments which are going in the other direction. But at the end of the day, it's a political compromise, and it's not going to be very helpful for the day-to-day life of intermediaries, bankers, life insurance companies, and the rest.
American political culture has reflected a kind of individualism where we allow business to go haywire up front, and then we step in and we try to remedy the mistakes after the fact. Whereas the European sort of a notion that the state is like our older brother or perhaps a father or somebody. They try to prevent the problems from happening at the start, and the way you do that is you over-regulate up front.
The problem is not anymore reducing the problem of the advisor for this directive. The problem are on 4 other points, as the organization of the markets, as high-frequency trading, and so not anymore what should be the rules for independent advisor.
The investor wants to be in a stable environment, a stable economy where the rule of law applies. And an investor, to be able to plan its future, needs to have a clear direction.
Perspectives were heard from the consumer and life insurance companies, while giving a forecast on the future of intermediaries, where experts said 70% of all future purchases will be made online, advising the financial intermediary to update his or her services in a world where banking will be mobile.
That people are getting less advice and they really need more advice in this time, since 2008. But even today, the financial problems of the world haven't been fixed. People need information, they need good advice.
If you add up all the stock markets, the banks, the financial services sector is twice as big as oil and gas. It's twice as big as healthcare. It's twice as big as infotech, right? So intermediation is supposed to be the oil in the engine, and the banking sector has turned into the engine. It's become its own entity, and it's lost control. It's just taking too much out of the pockets of people worldwide.
Until really last 2 or 3 weeks, where Luxembourg and Austria, the 2 member states who were really blocking the progress of the Savings Directive, have started to relax their view on confidentiality. And I think this will be the key to getting the Savings Directive back on track.
Insight and advice was also offered on how Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes work and what can be done to detect them.
They have to be very aware that we have a lot of scams around the world, and especially what we call the Ponzi schemes, which was revealed all over the world by Mr. Madoff. And they are still continuing, and many people are offering unusual returns. Unusual returns must be maybe very high sometime, but nowadays they are more maybe low or as low as 5%, but 5% without risk is nowadays impossible.
2013 CIFA deliberations concluded with concrete steps on making the transition toward a holistic approach to financial planning, along with a 5-point CIFA resolution's outcome produced to aid the independent financial advisor and investor on how to shift from the status quo and ensure a stable economic environment that enables sustainable wealth creation and global development with the rule of law front and center.
As financial planners, financial advisors, what we control is our own decisions and what we try to do, how we become in front of people. So this idea that we're not there to win trust, but to help people understand trust is a gift that our clients give us. We need to honor that and give back to them trustworthiness. So that means we make the right decisions, we have the right behavior to uphold who we are.
I think CIFA plays a major role because what CIFA does is take the intelligence of different pockets of the world, in Europe, in Asia, in North America, and try to bring a credible, believable, realistic sense of the problem to the United Nations, who we believe we might be able to influence some of the change and legislation going on worldwide, the global trends.
Regulation of the financial markets until now has failed. We know it has failed, we just have to accept it, and those in charge have to accept it. And CIFA comes with new suggestions to redesign the financial markets and to redesign ethics that applies to them.
Financial sector reform can be obtained, concluded experts at CIFA, but it can only be sustained when human dignity and well-being are placed at the top of the agenda. For South News, I'm Afaf Kanja reporting from Monaco.